What if I told you that the first place a woman over 40 longs to be touched has nothing to do with her body? Most men spend years trying to become more attractive, more successful, or more romantic. Yet they keep missing the one thing she silently craves the most. And until you understand this, you'll continue wondering why she seems emotionally distant, even when she's standing right beside you. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you understand attraction, emotional intimacy, and lasting love. One of the biggest misunderstandings many people have about attraction is believing that physical affection is the starting point of emotional intimacy. In reality, especially in mature relationships, the opposite is often true. A meaningful connection usually begins in the mind long before it is expressed through a simple touch, a hug, or holding hands. As people grow older, they collect experiences that reshape how they see love. They carry memories of relationships that brought comfort and relationships that left emotional scars. They remember conversations that made them feel deeply valued, and they remember moments when their feelings were dismissed. These experiences change priorities. What once felt exciting may no longer feel meaningful if it lacks emotional depth. This is why genuine connection begins with understanding how someone thinks, what they value, what they fear, and what makes them feel emotionally secure. Many men believe that showing affection through physical gestures is enough to make a woman feel loved. They assume that buying flowers, giving compliments, or initiating physical closeness automatically communicates care. While these actions certainly have their place, they often lose their impact when they are not supported by emotional understanding. A woman who feels unheard during conversations will not suddenly feel deeply connected because of a romantic gesture. Someone whose opinions are constantly overlooked is unlikely to interpret physical affection as true intimacy. The heart rarely accepts what the mind has not already believed. Emotional closeness grows when a person feels that their thoughts matter, that their experiences are respected, and that their inner world is being explored rather than ignored. This is where many relationships quietly begin to drift apart without either partner fully understanding why. Daily routines take over. Conversations become centered around responsibilities instead of emotions. Discussions revolve around bills, work schedules, family obligations, or household tasks. Gradually, curiosity disappears. Partners stop asking meaningful questions because they assume they already know everything about one another. But people continue evolving throughout life. Dreams change, priorities shift, confidence rises and falls, new fears appear, while old insecurities fade. A relationship remains alive when two people continue discovering each other instead of assuming the journey of learning ended years ago. Feeling emotionally seen often comes from someone taking the time to ask thoughtful questions and genuinely caring about the answers rather than simply waiting for their turn to speak. Listening itself has become an increasingly rare skill. Many conversations are not conversations at all. They are opportunities for one person to prepare a response while the other is still talking. Real listening requires patience. It requires putting aside distractions, resisting the urge to interrupt, and allowing another person to express themselves without immediately trying to solve every problem. Sometimes people are not looking for advice. They are looking for understanding. They want someone to recognize their emotions without minimizing them or rushing them toward a solution. That kind of attention communicates something incredibly powerful. Your thoughts matter. Your feelings matter. You matter. Those silent messages often strengthen intimacy far more than words alone ever could. Emotional connection also grows through genuine curiosity. Curiosity is one of the clearest signs that someone values you beyond appearances. It means asking how a stressful situation truly affected them rather than assuming everything is fine. It means remembering details from previous conversations and bringing them up weeks later because they mattered enough to stay in your mind. It means noticing subtle changes in mood and asking gentle questions instead of pretending not to see them. These small moments tell someone they are being observed with care rather than merely existing in the background of another person's life. Being remembered is one of the deepest forms of appreciation because it demonstrates consistent attention rather than temporary interest. As people mature, emotional intelligence often becomes far more attractive than charm alone. Confidence may create a strong first impression, but understanding sustains a relationship over time. A calm conversation after a difficult day can become more meaningful than an elaborate romantic evening. Feeling emotionally safe during moments of vulnerability creates a sense of closeness that cannot be manufactured through appearances or grand gestures. When someone knows they can express disappointment, uncertainty, excitement, or fear without being mocked or dismissed, trust naturally begins to deepen. Trust is not built through dramatic declarations. It is built through hundreds of ordinary moments in which a person consistently feels accepted exactly as they are. There is also an important difference between hearing someone's words and understanding the emotions behind those words. A woman may talk about feeling exhausted, but beneath that exhaustion may be a desire to feel supported. She may mention being frustrated at work, but underneath the frustration may be disappointment, self-doubt, or fear of not being appreciated. Someone who listens only to the surface hears information. Someone who listens with empathy hears emotion. That deeper level of understanding allows conversations to become places of comfort rather than conflict. It encourages openness because people naturally share more when they believe they will be understood instead of judged. The most memorable relationships are often defined by moments that appear ordinary to outsiders. Sitting together after a long day while discussing hopes for the future. Remembering a story that was shared months ago and asking how it turned out. Noticing when someone seems quieter than usual and gently checking in without pressure. Laughing over memories that only the two of you understand. These experiences may never appear dramatic, but they slowly create a feeling that is incredibly difficult to replace. They build emotional familiarity, and emotional familiarity creates security. When someone consistently feels understood, respected, and emotionally acknowledged, physical affection becomes a natural extension of an already strong emotional bond rather than an attempt to create one. One of the greatest misconceptions about long-term attraction is the belief that it is sustained by excitement alone. Many people assume that romance survives because of chemistry, physical appearance, or grand romantic gestures. While these elements may create the initial spark, they are rarely the foundation that keeps two people emotionally connected over the years. As relationships mature, something far more valuable begins to determine whether attraction grows or slowly fades, and that is respect. Respect is not loud, dramatic, or attention-seeking. It is found in the everyday choices people make, the way they speak to each other during disagreements, the way they value each other's opinions, and the consistency with which they protect each other's dignity. A relationship without respect may survive for a while, but it gradually becomes emotionally exhausting because admiration cannot exist where respect has disappeared. Many men believe that providing financially, solving problems, or making occasional romantic gestures is enough to maintain a strong relationship. Those things certainly matter, but they lose much of their meaning if respect is missing. A woman can appreciate expensive gifts and still feel emotionally disconnected if she feels ignored, dismissed, or constantly criticized. Respect communicates something much deeper than affection. It tells someone, I value who you are, not just what you do for me. That message creates emotional security because it reassures a person that they are appreciated as an individual rather than simply for the role they play in the relationship. Feeling respected allows love to grow naturally because it removes the fear of constantly having to prove one's worth. One of the clearest signs of respect is the willingness to truly listen, even when opinions differ. It is easy to agree with someone when everything is going well, but genuine respect becomes visible during moments of disagreement. Mature people understand that having different perspectives does not automatically make one person right and the other wrong. Instead of trying to win every argument, they seek to understand why the other person thinks or feels the way they do. They avoid mocking opinions, interrupting conversations, or treating disagreements as personal attacks. This creates an environment where both partners feel safe expressing themselves honestly. Emotional intimacy cannot flourish when one person constantly feels that their voice carries less value than the others. Respect is also reflected in the language people choose during difficult moments. Words spoken in anger often reveal habits that have been developing quietly over time. Some people believe that apologizing later erases the damage caused by harsh criticism, insults, or humiliation. In reality, repeated disrespect leaves invisible wounds that are difficult to heal. A single careless sentence can remain in someone's memory for years because it changes how safe they feel within the relationship. Mature communication means recognizing that frustration should never become an excuse for attacking another person's character. It is possible to express disappointment without destroying someone's confidence. The strongest relationships are not those without conflict, but those where conflict never becomes an opportunity to disrespect one another. Respect also means recognizing and appreciating personal boundaries. Every individual has emotional needs, personal values, and limits that deserve acknowledgement. Healthy relationships are not built on control, but on mutual understanding. Trying to dominate every decision, demanding constant validation, or expecting someone to sacrifice their identity for the relationship slowly weakens emotional attraction. A woman who feels free to express herself without fear of criticism is far more likely to remain emotionally connected than someone who constantly feels pressured to become someone she is not. Respect allows both people to grow without feeling that their individuality is being threatened. Another important aspect of respect is consistency. Many people know how to be kind when everything is going well. They are affectionate during vacations, attentive during celebrations, and generous when life feels easy. The true measure of respect appears during ordinary days and stressful seasons. It is visible when patience replaces irritation after a difficult day, when appreciation continues despite familiar routines, and when kindness remains present even during disagreements. Consistency builds trust because it reassures both partners that their treatment will not depend solely on changing emotions or temporary circumstances. A respectful partner does not suddenly become dismissive simply because life becomes challenging. Appreciation is another powerful expression of respect that is often overlooked. As relationships become comfortable, many people stop acknowledging the small efforts their partner makes each day. Acts of kindness begin to feel expected rather than appreciated. Yet everyone wants to know that their contributions are noticed. A sincere thank you, recognizing someone's hard work, or expressing gratitude for their emotional support can have a profound impact. Appreciation reminds a person that they are not invisible. It reinforces the feeling that their presence continues to bring value to the relationship, even after many years together. When appreciation disappears, people often begin to feel taken for granted, and emotional distance quietly begins to replace closeness. Respect also requires honesty, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Genuine respect does not involve manipulation, hidden intentions, or saying whatever is necessary to avoid temporary conflict. Instead, it means communicating openly while remaining considerate of another person's feelings. Honest conversations create stronger relationships because they eliminate uncertainty and encourage trust. A woman is far more likely to feel emotionally secure with someone whose words consistently match their actions than with someone who makes impressive promises but repeatedly fails to keep them. Reliability itself is a form of respect because it demonstrates that another person's trust is being treated as something valuable rather than something disposable. Perhaps the most attractive quality respect creates is emotional peace. In a world filled with stress, uncertainty, and constant demands, people naturally gravitate toward relationships where they feel accepted, valued, and emotionally safe. Physical attraction may capture attention, but respect determines whether that attraction continues to deepen over time. When a woman knows her opinions are valued, her emotions are acknowledged, her boundaries are honored, and her dignity is protected even during moments of conflict, she develops a sense of trust that cannot be manufactured through charm alone. Respect transforms ordinary interactions into meaningful experiences because it reminds both partners that love is not simply about being desired, but about being genuinely valued every single day. Many people believe that charm is the secret ingredient behind lasting attraction. They imagine that confidence, smooth conversation, a good sense of humor, or an impressive appearance are what keep a relationship exciting. While these qualities can certainly create a strong first impression, they are rarely enough to sustain a deep emotional connection over time. As relationships mature, especially after years of shared experiences, people begin looking beyond surface-level attraction. They start asking themselves a much more important question: do I feel emotionally safe with this person? That question often determines whether love continues to grow or slowly begins to fade. Emotional safety is not about living without disagreements or pretending that life is always perfect. It is about knowing that even during difficult moments, you will be treated with understanding rather than humiliation, patience rather than hostility, and compassion rather than judgment. For many women, emotional safety becomes increasingly valuable with age because life has taught them how exhausting emotionally unstable relationships can be. They have often experienced promises that were never kept, conversations that turned into arguments, or moments where expressing their feelings resulted in criticism instead of comfort. Those experiences leave lasting impressions. They begin to understand that excitement without stability creates anxiety rather than peace. A charming personality may capture attention for a short time, but emotional consistency is what builds trust. A woman who feels emotionally secure no longer has to question whether she is accepted only on her best days or whether her emotions will be dismissed whenever they become inconvenient. She begins to relax because she knows she does not have to constantly protect herself from the person who is supposed to be her closest companion. One of the strongest signs of emotional safety is the freedom to be vulnerable without fear of being punished for it. Vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness, but in reality, it requires enormous courage. Admitting fears, insecurities, disappointments, or personal struggles means trusting another person with parts of yourself that are not visible to everyone else. When those moments are met with patience and empathy, emotional intimacy grows stronger. However, when vulnerability is answered with sarcasm, criticism, or emotional withdrawal, people naturally begin hiding parts of themselves. They stop sharing what truly matters because experience has taught them that openness leads to pain rather than connection. Over time, silence replaces honesty, and emotional distance quietly becomes part of the relationship. Many people unintentionally create emotional insecurity by constantly trying to fix every problem instead of first acknowledging the emotions behind it. A woman may share that she feels overwhelmed, not because she expects immediate solutions, but because she wants someone to understand the weight she is carrying. Responding with quick advice without first recognizing her emotions can leave her feeling unheard. Sometimes the most meaningful response is not solving the situation, but simply saying, I understand why you feel that way, or offering patient attention without rushing the conversation. Feeling understood is often more comforting than receiving perfect advice because it communicates acceptance rather than evaluation. Another important part of emotional safety is consistency. Predictability in character creates peace. Nobody wants to spend their relationship wondering which version of their partner they will encounter each day. Emotional highs followed by sudden anger, affection followed by unexplained distance, or kindness followed by criticism create uncertainty that slowly weakens trust. Consistency allows both people to feel secure because they know that love is not dependent on changing moods. They understand that disagreements will not suddenly threaten the stability of the relationship. A calm response during stressful moments often strengthens emotional connection more than dramatic displays of affection during easy times. People remember how safe they felt during difficult seasons far longer than they remember extravagant romantic gestures. Trust also grows when people know that their emotions will not later be used against them. In unhealthy relationships, private fears shared during vulnerable moments sometimes become weapons during future arguments. Personal insecurities are brought up to win disagreements, past mistakes are repeatedly used to create guilt, or confidential conversations become opportunities for criticism. These experiences destroy emotional safety because they teach someone that honesty carries consequences. In contrast, emotionally mature relationships protect vulnerability. What is shared in confidence remains protected, allowing openness to grow naturally. When someone knows their deepest thoughts will be handled with care instead of judgment, emotional intimacy becomes much easier to develop. Emotional safety is equally reflected in how partners respond to mistakes. Every person will eventually disappoint the people they love. Misunderstandings happen, emotions become intense, and poor decisions are sometimes made. The difference lies in how those moments are handled. A relationship grounded in emotional safety focuses on resolving problems instead of attacking personal worth. Instead of saying, you always ruin everything, emotionally healthy communication separates the mistake from the individual. It acknowledges that behavior can be corrected without making someone feel fundamentally unworthy. This distinction creates an atmosphere where growth becomes possible because people no longer feel they must defend themselves against constant judgment. Support during difficult moments also reveals the presence of emotional safety. Life inevitably brings uncertainty through career challenges, family responsibilities, health concerns, financial pressure, or personal disappointment. During these seasons, charm becomes far less important than reliability. A reassuring conversation after a stressful day, patient listening during moments of self-doubt, or simply remaining emotionally present during hardship creates a sense of security that cannot be replaced by compliments alone. Knowing that someone will remain emotionally available during life's most challenging moments allows trust to deepen in ways that excitement alone never could. Perhaps the greatest strength of emotional safety is that it allows people to become their most authentic selves. They no longer feel pressured to appear perfect, constantly cheerful, or emotionally invulnerable. They know they can express uncertainty, admit mistakes, reveal fears, and share dreams without worrying that these moments will reduce their value in the eyes of the person they love. That freedom creates a relationship built on honesty rather than performance, where connection grows through acceptance instead of constant approval, allowing two people to experience a level of closeness that charm alone could never create. One of the greatest challenges facing modern relationships is not a lack of love, but a lack of genuine presence. Many couples spend countless hours in the same room, share meals together, sleep under the same roof, and go through the routines of everyday life, yet they still feel emotionally distant from one another. This happens because physical proximity is not the same as emotional presence. You can sit beside someone while your attention is consumed by your phone, your work, your worries, or 100 other distractions. You can hear someone's words without truly listening to what they are trying to express. Over time, these small moments of emotional absence accumulate, creating a quiet loneliness that is difficult to explain. A woman over 40 often recognizes this difference more clearly than ever before because life has taught her that being accompanied is not the same as being emotionally seen. She no longer measures love by how often someone is around her, but by how deeply someone is present when they are. Many people believe affection is demonstrated through grand gestures, expensive gifts, elaborate vacations, or dramatic declarations of love. While those moments can certainly create beautiful memories, they cannot replace the quiet consistency of everyday attention. In fact, the most meaningful expressions of love are often the simplest ones, looking someone in the eyes while they speak instead of glancing at a screen, remembering a conversation from days earlier and asking about it because it genuinely mattered. Noticing when someone's energy has changed and asking with sincere concern, "Are you okay?" These moments require no money, no elaborate planning, and no special occasion. They simply require presence. They communicate that another person's thoughts and emotions are important enough to deserve undivided attention, and that message often carries more emotional weight than the most expensive gift ever could. As people grow older, time becomes one of the most valuable resources they possess. Careers become demanding, family responsibilities increase, aging parents may require support, and personal obligations continue to multiply. In the middle of all these responsibilities, attention becomes fragmented. Conversations are interrupted by notifications. Dinner is shared alongside endless scrolling. Important discussions are postponed because someone is too busy or too tired. Eventually, partners stop expecting full attention because they have become accustomed to partial presence. This slow shift is rarely intentional, yet it gradually weakens emotional intimacy. A relationship does not usually fall apart because of one major event. It often begins to fade through thousands of small moments where people stop making each other feel like the most important person in the room. Presence begins with listening, but genuine listening is much deeper than remaining silent while another person speaks. True listening means becoming fully engaged in another person's experience without immediately planning a response or searching for a solution. It involves noticing not only the words being spoken, but also the emotions behind those words. Sometimes a woman is not asking for advice. She is asking to be understood. She wants someone to recognize the disappointment hidden beneath her smile, the exhaustion behind her confidence, or the uncertainty beneath her strength. When a partner listens with patience instead of interruption, it creates an emotional environment where honesty feels safe. That kind of attention tells her that her inner world matters just as much as her outward responsibilities. Presence is also revealed through observation. People often communicate far more through their behavior than through their words. A thoughtful partner notices when laughter becomes less frequent, when enthusiasm quietly disappears, or when silence replaces the conversations that once came so naturally. Emotional awareness is not about becoming suspicious or overly analytical. It is about caring enough to notice changes that others overlook. Asking gentle questions such as, "You've seemed quieter lately. Is something on your mind?" can open the door to conversations that might never happen otherwise. These moments reassure someone that they are not invisible, that their emotional well-being is being noticed rather than ignored. Feeling emotionally recognized strengthens intimacy because it removes the loneliness that can exist even inside committed relationships. One of the most powerful aspects of presence is reliability during ordinary moments. Many people become fully attentive during celebrations, anniversaries, or vacations because those occasions naturally invite connection. The greater challenge is remaining emotionally available on regular Tuesdays after stressful work days, during busy mornings, or in seasons when life feels repetitive. Lasting love is built much more by ordinary consistency than by occasional excitement. Sitting together over a simple cup of coffee while talking about the day's experiences may seem insignificant in the moment, yet these repeated acts of attention slowly create a foundation of trust. They remind both partners that emotional connection is not reserved for special occasions, but woven into everyday life. Another reason presence matters so deeply is because it communicates respect without requiring many words. When someone gives another person their complete attention, they are silently saying, "You are worth my time. You are worth my focus. What you are feeling deserves to be heard." Those messages have an extraordinary emotional impact because every human being wants to feel valued. Being constantly interrupted, ignored, or treated as secondary to endless distractions creates the opposite feeling. It suggests that everything else deserves attention before the relationship does. Over time, this pattern can make even a deeply loved person begin to question their importance, not because love has disappeared, but because presence has quietly been replaced by habit.